Welcome to this episode of TopWhiskies Whisky Wars. In this episode, we're going to compare a Jameson that I got from the corner shop against a Jameson 18-year-old Bow Street cask strength whiskey that the guys kindly sent us. I'm really excited to see how a 23-pound whiskey compares to a whiskey that costs around about 170 pounds. If this is your first time watching a TopWhiskies video, where have you been? Make sure you click the subscribe button. We do whiskey videos every week and we give away a free bottle of premium whiskey every month. Click the subscribe button, ding the bell, or else you're going to miss out. Now, let's get this whiskey war started. Alright, we're going to analyze these using our normal categories. We're going to look at the nose, the palate, and the finish. Let's start with the original Jameson. And on the nose, it's very light. So you're not getting a lot of really strong, overpowering smells. This is one that I feel like I can really stick my nose in and not singe or hurt myself. But it's nice. It's floral, it's grassy, and it's very pleasant. And on the palate, it's definitely sweet. And this is not a dry whiskey. This is one that's got that bit of sweetness to it. I'd maybe compare it to other sort of bourbons that I've had. It's very pleasant, it's a very mild sweetness. It's very smooth, especially for a whiskey that's this price point. I wouldn't necessarily have expected it to be so well integrated. It is genuinely really smooth, and I think that's what's contributing to a really nice medium body. In the mouth, it feels a bit heavier than I probably expected it to. It carries the flavor really well, but those flavors, the intensity of them, are very light. And with that sort of light intensity, it's carrying through, again, that sweetness, which is very fruity. It's fresh cut fruit, all that sort of thing. It's a very, very pleasant taste. Moving on to the finish, it's a short finish. It's very simple. That doesn't mean that it's not a nice finish, but it just cuts right to the chase. I can see why this whiskey is so popular for mixed drinks. Overall, it's a really good, sweet, basic whiskey. Very pleasant. Alright, let's move on to the 18-year-old Bow Street cask strength. Totally different nose. This is definitely sort of a medium intensity. It's crawling out a lot more. Again, if you stuck your nose right in that, you'd hurt yourself. It's a lot richer on the nose. I'm getting sort of oak notes coming through. It's not the only thing I'm getting, but that's probably predominantly of oak. And on the palate, like the other Jameson, this is also a sweet whiskey. But unsurprisingly, when it comes to the alcohol, this is much more warming. That's not surprising because we're talking about a whiskey that's cask strength, 55% alcohol. So there is a lot more alcohol in here. Unsurprising though is that it's contributing to a great body. This has a medium body and it's really nice. It's carrying the flavors really well, which is what I would tend to expect from a nice cask strength whiskey. There's a lot of flavor in here, but it's not, again, overpowering. We're not talking about pronounced intensity. This is a medium intensity. It's a very specific whiskey that's trying to do something targeted, and it's very nice. That sweetness though comes through, and this is a sweetness that's different than the sweetness that we had in the other Jameson. This is a more sort of treacle, more like a dense fruitcake kind of sweetness, opposed to the fruity sweetness that we have with the Jameson. It's very nice, but the reason that it feels a bit more sophisticated, and again, that medium body, that higher alcohol content, is really holding it together in a really good, structured way. Onto the finish. It has a really long finish. It isn't an overly complex finish. I'd probably say it's got some complexity to the finish. That's not a bad thing. It's not introducing anything new on the finish. It's just carrying through those rich, sweet notes. Very pleasant. This is a very enjoyable whiskey. So now we'll compare the two. When we tend to approach whiskeys, we give them the benefit of the doubt. We think that the producers have created something that's going to be good. We then think, is there something to push this over to make it very good? Is there something detracting from it that maybe makes it acceptable? So giving the benefit of the doubt, we'll start both of them at good. And going to the Jameson Original, this is a really enjoyable whiskey. There's actually a lot to this that I might not have appreciated before. You tend to think of Jameson as something that just goes straight into a mixed drink, but there's a lot to be enjoyed in this whiskey. This is a really enjoyable dram that I've never tried on its own. I've only ever had it as a mixer. And I think I could quite happily drink this by itself. I think Jameson Original, maybe there's nothing to push it to very good, but this is a solid, good whiskey that maybe you should try without putting it into a mixer. I think it's worth it, and it's got those interesting, sweet, basic flavors to it. And now to try the 18-year-old. There's a lot more going on with this 18-year-old. I think that having that higher ABV makes it feel like a much more adult whiskey. It's not overpowering, it's not trying to do too much, it's not trying to hit you with lots of complex, nuanced flavors. It's trying to do one thing very well, and that one thing is a holistic, medium-bodied, sweet, treacly whiskey. And I think that that makes this a very good whiskey. So in the battle of the whiskeys, I'm going to go ahead and say that the 18-year-old is very good. The original is good. But when we're talking about value for money, I'm really surprised at just how good the original is. I never really gave this the benefit of the doubt before, but I'm quite happy with this. I think these are both excellent whiskeys. Hope you enjoyed this Whisky War. Let us know what you think of Jameson in the comments down below, and remember to subscribe for next week's Whisky Wars. Thanks for watching.